And welcome back. Or if you're new here, just welcome. My name is Rusty, and this is my channel where I talk about my favorite movies, mostly horror, and my favorite music, mostly metal. And welcome to Wolf Week on my channel. I've been wanting to do this, so I'm going to be doing 7 of my werewolf movies from my collection that I particularly enjoy. I'll, of course, do another one later, like I will Shark Week and everything else. There's a lot more than 7 of each one of these genres, so we'll take them as they come when I'm in the mood to do them. So we're going to start day 1 with this wonderful little movie called There. Where? There? Guess it's according to how you want to pronounce it. Now, this is an absolutely wonderful movie. It was released in 2013, directed by Brent Bell, and written by William Brent Bell from a Matthew Peterman screenplay starring A.J. Cook, Brian Scott O'Connor, and Sebastian Roché. Now, this movie it's an American movie filmed by an American country, so it's an American production, but it is set in France and was filmed in Romania, is where it was filmed. So we're going to talk a little synopsis about it and give it some love. This is definitely one of those wow, really good movies. What do they call them? Gems that not a lot of people have seen. It wasn't widely known, probably in the werewolf community, the werewolf film fan community. I don't know, there might be a werewolf community out there. If you watch True Blood, that's very possible. But we'll see. I guess we'll know when they come and knock on my window one night and ask me to join. Or rip me to shreds. It's according to their mood, I guess, right? Whether they find me worthy. I do belong to the wolf pack, a wolf pack, and that is the Love Bites community, our fan community. I helped start that name. I don't want to brag. Yes, I do. I helped start that name, spread them around. I was there when they began in 2017. I was one of the first ones that was begging reactors to do their music. Now they are a worldwide phenomenon, and I am very proud of that fact that I was there and helped coin the phrase the wolf pack. And so, yeah, I am part of a wolf pack already. But like I said, this movie, it takes place in France. It begins with a family on vacation. We have Claire and Henry and Peter, and they are out camping in the outback, and you get to see it on found footage. This isn't a found footage film, but there's some found footage elements such as that. We get to see them attacked. It's a pretty horrible and graphic little WTF scene where it turns out that, she survived it, but only barely, and they're interviewing her in the hospital. The police are interviewing her in the hospital where she recounts the events and, sort of saying he attacked. It wasn't an animal, even though everybody is like, but it has to be. I mean, look at the carnage, which we'll talk about. So, they're interviewing her, and she's giving her story, and she is really mutilated. They don't let you see it at first. That was a shocking scene. A little later on, she turns to the side, and like this whole side has been eaten off. It was like, ooh, didn't see that coming. So and then this is where this movie, you get to see the main character. We're introduced to Kate. She is an American living in France, and she has taken the case of the man that they arrest. They arrest this real tall, hairy man with that wolf boy disease, which we'll talk about that as well. And she is his defense attorney. She has a co-counsel, Eric, and she calls her ex-boyfriend, I want to call him Oliver, Gavin. Gavin and Oliver, that kind of like goes, that's the kind of same names. But she calls Gavin, and he is a professor. And he comes over to assist her with the case, to view the bodies, because she doesn't believe that it was a human. She believes it was an animal attack. We then get to see her and the prosecutor, the investigator. He used to be an investigator, now he's a prosecutor and chief. I guess he doubles as both. I don't think that would be allowed in America, but in France maybe, I don't know. But in any event, they immediately have this adversarial more than normal, because she's uncovering evidence, what do you mean the footprints disappeared and the DNA hasn't even come back, and it just all seems a little shady. You're so convinced that this is the guy who did it. So, and he is a creepy looking guy. He is really creepy. With that, if you've ever seen anyone with that disease, it's like hair all up here, It's pretty interesting. But so she meets with him for the first time, and he hasn't said a word. She gets him to remove the cuffs. He then speaks to her, and when he starts mentioning his dad, the cop runs in. Pistor, that's his name, Pistor, Detective Pistor. So he actually lunges at Kate, but not in a. He doesn't mean in a bad thing. He grabs her by the arm and just says, "Help me," There's a scuffle, and Gavin comes running in, and there is a moment in which, right about here, Gavin was scratched, and I put Gavin has a scratch. We know what that means. It can go in many different directions at this point. So Gavin got scratched by him during that little fight, and he did scratch Gavin. Garen? Who's Garen? They go and they interview the mom. She gives them a little back history. They were originally from Romania, and had moved to France. They discuss his condition. They look at pictures where she kind of indicates that on occasion a male individual in their family will be born with this condition. Now this condition is very crippling, so Kate is using that as her main defense, because if he has this condition, they can barely move. It's really fatigue and muscle aches and arthritis kind of thing, and there's no way that he could have committed these horrible murders. Meanwhile, of course, Gavin has also, in doing his investigation, is like, there's just no way. We go to the morgue where we view the bodies, which I kind of wish I didn't. But wow, what he had done to the dad was horrible, or whatever had done to the dad. It was like a bear. I mean, like his whole leg had been eaten off. Then they asked to see the kid, who was only like 7, and that was particularly difficult because you didn't expect what was coming. And spoiler channel. And that is when they pulled the body out of the thing. There was nothing hardly left of that little boy. I mean, it's like he had, from the belly button and his shoulders and his head, everything else was just gone. It was like that scene in Jaws, where the body's just in this little tub, and who was it that also kind of like that scene in Lake Placid where the body that Bridget Fonda was like, oh my God. So yeah, there was nothing left of this little boy. So that was like really hard to see. So she starts, like I said, uncovering this information about the local community. They had a $30 million contract if they could have gotten the land of these people. She suspects that the father may have been killed in effort to get this land. So it's all like really shady stuff. She definitely has some good points. And you actually then begin to believe that something else is going on. So, and Pistor, he was also the prosecutor, the detective on the case of the dad going missing. So she doesn't have a lot for this guy, you know. So you also start noticing that Gavin is starting to feel weird. He's looking a little different. He's feeling a little sick. He goes and looks in the mirror, and it looks like that scratch is getting infected, and it's kind of like bruising a little up the body. And so you're like, okay, I'm back and forth. Is this the werewolf or not? Now here's some more evidence that it probably is. So they then get the news that Claire has died in the hospital. The mom, that was attacked at the beginning. So she's dead. A horse attack comes in. There's another call about a horse attack and a man seeing a big creature kind of thing. So you're like, okay, are we going to swing back to it isn't this guy? Talbot? Isn't that his name? Talbot. Or Talon. I'm sorry, which is actually a very good, appropriate name, I guess, when you think about it. Talon. But, so, they go out there, Claire and Gavin and all of them. Well, no, Claire and Eric went with the police out to this place where these horses had been mutilated. And they're looking around, and it's a very, very anxious, anxiety-inducing scene when all of a sudden this big, giant, brown, red bear kind of like comes out of the woods, and that was the obvious culprit. The cops shoot it, and they're kind of like, okay, well, maybe it was the bear that killed them then. So she comes up with her next thing. Her plan would be this disease called Porphyria. Porphyria, I guess, is the wolf boy disease. So she researches that, and we learn about it, and they discover, that there is a test that they can give, and it's kind of weird. The test it's a blood test, but it's also a test on your eye, and it's a light test, a strobe light test that is used to determine whether you have this Porphyria. So she's going to do that. They're going to go and have him tested at the hospital for this. While Eric, in reviewing the footage, especially from that first meeting, he notices, and thereby we notice, that Gavin was not scratched by Talon. He wasn't scratched by him. Eric zooms in, and you can clearly see that during the struggle, Talon actually bit him lightly. Not scratched him, but he bit him. So now you're like, man, where is this? It's really neat the way that they're giving me defenses, but they're giving me prosecutorial evidence, and I'm on the jury here, and I'm kind of like not sure what's going on. But I tell you what, we're fixing to find out, because the mother and him, Talon, they allow this test, and they're up there in the observation room, Claire and Eric and them, and there's, I think, like 4 individuals in the theater, operating theater, who are administering the test. And when that test goes off, so does Talon. He transforms into this really intense superhuman thing. And immediately, right there on the spot, he breaks easily. I mean, he can barely walk when he's not in that form. And he immediately transforms, and right there on the spot, he like brutally murders everybody in that room inside of like 60 seconds. It's just like smash, bam, break, click, throw up against the wall, smash heads, pick them up over their heads, bust them on the ground. It was a very intense what the fuck moment, and all answers have been given. So Claire starts, screaming and crying because she believed he was innocent. The cop, of course, is like, haha, told you so. This is your fault. Which it isn't really. I mean, she didn't believe that this guy had done it. Who believes in werewolves? You know what I mean? So it's like ridiculous. Because like Gavin had proven, the human bite can't even do what was done to those bodies. We don't have the pressure, to do what was done to those bodies. So he escapes, he gets out, he gets loose. I mean, like, who's going to stop that shit, right? So he gets out, the cops are looking for him, everybody's looking for him. They go back to Gavin, where Gavin is getting worse. You can tell he's just, it's not like really obvious, but it's like he's getting worse. He's feeling sick. His arm is getting worse, and that's when Eric has been researching werewolf lore and talking about the moon and how there is really a condition where the moon affects human beings, an actual really scientific thing. So he informs them that the moon last night was 98% and tonight was the full moon. So whatever you think is going to happen to Gavin, you obviously know is going to happen tonight. He, of course, is very worried as well. So they locate Talon in like the 8th, 9th floor of this building, and they have him cornered. So Claire and Eric, they go to that, and Gavin stays there himself, who is now scared shitless, right? With all of this new information. So he actually tries to conduct this blood test on himself, which involves getting eye fluid, and that's pretty gross to see. And it reacts positively, and now he knows that whatever Talon is, he has been infected. So he has to deal with that. The fact that he is probably going to turn into who the fuck knows, and I'm sure that's hard to deal with. So, it's coming. What you going to do about it when it happens, So they go to, Kate and Eric go and meet the police. They go up there, and she's like telling them, dude, you do not want to mess with that thing, right? You blaming me for the people that died because I was defending him. Now you're going to get all of your men killed up there because I'm telling you, did not you witness what I witnessed at the hospital? You were standing right beside me. So they do, yeah, but they're big bad police, right? They're the Dibble, and the Dibble cannot be defeated, So they all surround him. They think, there's like 20 people up there with, armed to the teeth with their military gear and stuff like that. And they get up close to him. And he's like, okay, let's play, and he stands up and he actually transforms right in front of them. And, he kills them all. He kills that whole squad, while Claire and Pistor and everybody is down there watching on the monitors. He then, and I kind of thought, well, maybe he's being nice and is going to commit suicide. Maybe he doesn't want to be this thing, right? I don't know. So he jumps out like 9 stories up. So it's like, and you think, okay, he's going to splatter all over the road, right? No, he like pulled the cat move. You know what I'm saying? Because like right when he got to the road, like 6 feet from the road, and it's not like you're falling slow at that point, but he's just like, he just like flips and boom, he lands like fucking Garfield. You know, he's like lands on all fours and is like, that didn't hurt a bit. And then he just stands up and he's looking straight at Kate, and then he just turns around and takes off, and he's gone again. So they end up going back to the mother's house because that's probably where he's going, right? He's going to go back home. They go back. They can't find the mom. Gavin's in the house. She's in the house. The cops pissed her, and they're all in the house. They can't find her. They can't find him. They start searching the woods. One cop stays with Gavin, who stays in the house. Because, of course, he's freaking out. Not unbeknownst to anyone, because he hasn't told anyone about this shit. Despite Eric throwing hints at him, like, let me see your arm. What's up with your arm? What, you know. So this one cop stays with Gavin, and they're all out now in the woods looking for him. And there's a bunch of tense scenes, and they go search this cave system that's nearby where they find multitudes of skeletonized human bodies. So it's like, obviously, he's just been snacking on people for a while. And right before Gavin leaves, he comes in from another room because, you know, the cop had said, we need to go and join, you know, for our own safety, we need to go join the other. But he hears a noise, and he notices a fake bookshelf where he then finds a hidden room. Okay. So right about that time, though, the cop calls him, and he goes in there, and the cop is like gutted or throated, however you want to put it. But, you know, and he falls down on the floor, and he's like, oh my God, who did this to you, or whatever. For a second there, I thought maybe Gavin did it without knowing it. But all of a sudden, Gavin just barely ducks an axe blow. It's the fucking mom, right? She had just hit him in the throat, that cop. She had hit him in the throat with the axe. Now, Gavin is just like that close to transformation, right? So, he's not a happy fella. You know, it's not like he asked to be brought into this shit. Well, the werewolf side of it. So, he's like really upset now because now he knows the mother knew the whole time. He goes and throws her down the stairs to that hidden room where he sees this room with like a doctor's chair where you could strap yourself down. So it all comes to light to him that she knew the whole time. She had been protecting him. She knew what he was, you know, and a 7-year-old boy, your son 8. What the fuck? You know, and not only that, but look what you've done to me. You've turned me into something. Well, that moment, not only did you just try to axe my ass, you killed the cop, your son's killed all these people, you knew it all along, but you brought me into it, now you just tried to kill me. You know what? I'm just through waiting. And he just starts transforming, he loses it, he grabs her, he knocks the shit. I don't think I've ever seen an elderly woman treated that way in a movie. But, because, I mean, we're talking like UFC. You know, like grab them by the collar, like, you know, cry like a bitch. Bam! You know, I mean, and he's like cold fisting her in the face. And you're like, that's an old lady. It's all right, but she took it well. You know? And then he ends up climbing on top of her, and he literally beats her to death. You know, like when people say, you know, they get mad and they're like, you know, keep on, you know, I swear I'm going to literally just, I'm going to throw you down and just beat you to death. No, not using any weapons. And that's what he did. He literally just caved her head in with his fist. It was very good. It was a very good kill. And he then, of course, starts freaking out. And he must have had a hair issue. Okay? This was I don't know, it was a kind of funny. But it's like he must have had a hair issue. Because he's like, you know what? you may have turned me into a werewolf, but I don't. I'm not going to do the beard thing. I'm not going to do. And he like, even though he's transformed into this, power beast, he's like taking a straight razor, and he like shaves his head and he shaves his eyebrows and everything, and you're like, dude, it's like, I agree with that, actually. You know how I feel if you've been around this channel about this new fashion fad for the last couple of years, this dog's ass beard and the shaved convict just got out of prison haircut. I don't even know what it's called. I've actually looked to see what that's called. My brother calls it the beatnik look, and I'm like, I thought the beatnik look was the man buns. And he's like, yeah, the man buns and the beard. And I'm like, well, the man buns look stupid. I don't mind the samurai kind, the ponytail kind, but the man bun does look stupid. But no, I'm talking about the beard and the just got out of prison white supremacist skinhead haircut. That look. So anyway, if you've been around my channel, you know how much I hate that. And are disgusted by that. But Gavin must have felt the same. And this was 2013, which was way before that fad. So, I don't know. Kismet. That's what that's called. But it was kind of funny the way he shaved everything. It's like, I might be a werewolf, but goddamn it, I'm not going to be hairy. So, he then of course, we're out here back with Kate and all of them. They have located Talon. Talon ends up killing Eric really ugly. I don't know. He had this thing about, let me see your tongue. Talon had like this obsession with the tongue. I'm not really sure what it is, but his favorite like kill method was to, grab the top jaw and grab the bottom jaw and like rip the bottom jaw off. That's what he did to poor Eric. And that was actually a sad scene because Eric was a good guy. And Eric was like, we're trying to understand you. Please don't hurt me. And he had tears. That was a really good place because he had like tears coming out of his eyes when he's down there, and he's like, this werewolf is holding him. And he's like, we're trying to understand you. I know nobody understands you. I know you're scared. I know you wish you didn't have this. Please don't hurt me. And I'm like, how rude, man. That was just uncalled for. I mean, he was trying to help you, bitch. But hey, here I am expecting courtesy and empathy from a werewolf, right? Yeah, it doesn't work. But, so he then goes after Kate. He tries to do the same thing. And this little bird in the back of my head was like, where's Gavin? I think it's time for the Lone Ranger to show up and save the day, because he's fixing to rip Kate's head apart, and Kate's head apart, and you can't have that. So sure enough, I guessed it, because boom, all of a sudden Talon's like flying across the yard, and there is Gavin doing his wild man scream, and I'm like, uh-oh, Clash of the Titans, man. Here it comes, Clash of the Titans. So you get this nice, long, interesting UFC drawn out, UFC werewolf fight, which was pretty cool. The whole time now, Kate had gotten the gun, and you've got that stupid pistol up there in a copter. He's up there in a heli, like, run around, and it's like, I don't know, I can't aim correctly. And I'm like, well, it's kind of hard to get a good shot in a UFC fight, you know what I mean? You got to wait till somebody gets separated. So, it looks like Gavin won, because it leads you to believe that he killed Tal. And he because he lays there face down in the water after he was strangled to death by Gavin having an extreme temper tantrum. You want to talk about an anger management issue? Werewolves. Could you just see a room full of werewolves in anger management? Underworld, the Chevelle song, Red. that little anger management group in Red, that Chevelle song. But yeah, Underworld. Werewolves have true blood. Werewolves just are very temperamental, aren't they? They have anger issues. So I remember thinking that, sitting there, and I was like, I wonder what a room full of, because Gavin looks really pissed. You know, like, I wonder what a room full of werewolves at an anger management meeting would look like. That would be like, you're fisting to piss me off, dude. I am about to transform. I'm about to. You're tripping me. All right. My eyes are getting red. I can feel little, like, you know, I feel my bones like crinkling and stuff. I'm like, you're fisting to piss me off, and I'm gonna rip you to shreds. We're gonna have like werewolf tartar all over this room. So you think that he has won, and Kate gets up. Now he walks up to Kate, and he had given her a gun, and he's like, I don't know what's going to, earlier, you know, he's like, I don't know what's going to happen to me with this shit, but if I turn into one of those, I want you to put the little metal thing in this gun through my skull. So he actually walks up to her, you know, and gets down on his knees and is like, okay, you promised, you know. And she can't do it, though, but then you're not really sure whether she's going to do it or not. It looks like she's going to do it, and she changes her mind. Then it's like, I can't do it. But then she doesn't get the chance because fucking Pister is trying to shoot him in the head from the heli. Misses his head and hits her. And you're like, well, that's not cool. He should have been dead long before. You know, I mean, could you take him out for me before this movie ends, please? Which is exactly what Gavin now does. He, like, picks up a body or something. What did he pick up? He picked up a body, I think, and he threw it at the helicopter. He threw it at the copter. And it, of course, knocked the copter. The copter did all that thing and crashed and blew up, and you're like, good. At least that fucker didn't live through it because he was irritating. So, next thing you know, after that moment, you see a bunch of news reports of various murders across Europe. You know, bodies found at this hitchhiking trail. This couple disappeared near Luxembourg. Bodies found here, bodies found there. And you see a report on Tal. It's a report on Tal is what it is. And it's like, he killed these people. He killed Eric from his defense team. He killed his mother and bludgeoned her to death. But you knew that was Gavin. And then you see a report where it says that Kate is in serious but stable condition, recovering at the hospital. She's going to be fine. Then you see an interview with Gavin, and he's got a hair back, you know, and he looks normal. And he's sitting there talking about how this is not fake, you know, that the reports are not under-exaggerated, or the reports are not exaggerated, that this is real, and you're kind of left going, well, okay. And then the last thing he says is, you know, because the guy asks him, he's like, well, what do you think is going on here? And he looks at the camera and he's like, werewolves are real. And then the movie ends. So you're left not really knowing, you know, is Gavin going out and doing these murders and he's just accepted it and it's all just being blamed on Tal? Or did Talon really live through that fight and he's still on the loose and Gavin is warning about him? So you're not really left knowing whether Gavin has just accepted his fate and is like murdering people across Europe when he, you know, during the full moons, or whether he is really didn't kill Talon and Talon is still on the loose. So yeah, my last line on the notes was, is it Gavin or is it Talon? So you have to make up your mind as to what you think that it is. And that is where? The Legend Reborn. From 2013, This is a very, very underrated werewolf movie. It is absolutely phenomenal. If you have not seen it, it is definitely worth finding and adding to your collection, even if you can only find it on, you know, it's like I said, it's not super well known, except maybe in the werewolf film lover community. But if you can find it, you really should add it to your collection. It is a wonderful movie. There's Talon right there. You see how big and creature-like he looks. Scary motherfucker. And this is the only movie that he's ever done. Now, the others, they've all been in other, like you go to International Movie Database and see, because sometimes if I find a sexy actor or something, I would go and like try to get other movies that star them, see what else they've done. It's the life of a film collector. Getting our favorite actors stuff and finding movies that they may have been in that we didn't know and are interested in having. But yeah, the guy who plays Talon, and he was perfectly fine. Man, what a creature. But this is the only movie that he's ever been in, so it's kind of interesting. So yeah, there, 2013, day one of Wolf Week. And I will see you in the next one. Love you, miss you. Bye-bye. And always remember and never forget, you're a very, very special person. And I wonder if I can werewolf my hair. You're a very, very special person. Try to get the wild look. You're a very, very special person, and don't let anyone ever tell you differently, because you know that's a lie. Because you know you are. Even if you're not a werewolf, you're still very special. And I will see you in the next one. Thanks for joining me on day one of Wolf Week, and I will see you next with, I'm not going to tell you. Well, of course, sure. You'll see it in the description anyway. Next will be Wolfen with Albert Finney and Gregory Hines. Oh yes, Wolfen. And a very young Commander Adama from Battlestar Galactica. And once you see Wolfen, there is no part of Commander Adama that you will not have seen. See you then.